Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll be quick, so it's. Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. So this is Jala Gravel, and she is one of the attorneys at my law firm, and she works with several of our local government clients. And I've asked her to come today to provide you with a refresher on your bylaws. I know that we have some members who were not on the board at the time that these were created. I think it would assist everyone to know in general what procedural matters you set up. And if you can check your emails, I've also sent you an email that is specific to your particular term, so that discussion may come up in the, well, actually it will come up in the presentation as far as showing what the terms are. So I've sent that to you just for
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jala. Thank you, Amelia, for that introduction. So I'll give you a refresher of the bylaws. We've talked a lot about, just how the development authorities came into being. There's state law that there's constitutional development authorities, and then there's development authorities that are created by the state law. So the city of South Fulton, this was created by the state law. And then we have the city council activating resolution, which is again required by the state law in order for the authority to have their powers. So now we'll get into sort of the governing documents, the single governing document that you have just for your meetings and requirements and responsibilities of the chairman, the vice chairman, the secretary, the treasury, things of that nature. So we can feel free to interrupt me at any point with any questions. Some of you.
Actually, yeah, we're gonna take the questions at the end. You won't be through with that.
Okay. Well, I will wait for the questions at the end. So let's start with the Article 2, which is the purpose and organization. Michael has covered some of it, some of the reasons why the Development Authority is in place today. And this article just discusses the different purposes. So there's state law, which gives all the different project requirements that the development authorities can get into. So this article just references that state law provision. And then it discusses the principal office, which is located in the South Fulton City Hall. And then moving on to Article 3, which talks about the membership and the terms of the board. This needs to be updated because as we have it in our bylaws right now, there's 7 directors listed in the bylaws. And as I see in the document that was sent out earlier today, there are 9 directors of the bylaws. So I will amend this to reflect that. 9 is the maximum amount of directors that we can have pursuant to bylaws. So we're in line with state law. So I'll be sure to amend that. The membership, as you're aware, 4 of the positions have a 2-year term, and then 3 of the positions have a 4-year term. And we can discuss what the other 2 positions should have, whether a 4-year term or the 4 years. 4 years for the other 2 as well. So I'll be sure to include that in the amended bylaws. And then, as you know, these positions, the city council elects members to these different positions in the development authority. And then moving on to the quorum, the majority of the directors would be 5. That's how many directors are required for a quorum to be present, but no action can be taken without a decision of the majority of members as well. So 5 members are required for any decision-making activity. And then vacancies, this is one of the important ones because if there's I'd like all the directors to know that there could be a vacancy in the event that they have missed 3 consecutive meetings of the development authority, unless they have been excused, in writing. So unless they've been excused, then that is a reason for a vacancy. Notwithstanding that, there's always, if you're convicted of a felony, or charged with any act of malfeasance, things of that nature, then that's another reason aside from resignation, death, or relocation in a different city. Moving on, there's subcommittees. So the board of directors have the authority to appoint members to subcommittees. And these subcommittee members will be advisory council to the directors themselves. And then the members can appoint these subcommittee chairmen and director heads as well. So these subcommittees would just be sort of advisory committees to the directors themselves. So they have the authority to establish these. Moving forward, the authority has the authority to have regular meetings at a time, place, and date that is decided by the members of the board. The bylaws doesn't specify it, but we could include it if there's a schedule that the authority has consented to, then we can include that specific schedule in the bylaws. Right now, it just says that the authority should hold regular meetings, and then they can call a special meeting by the chairman or the majority members of the board. So if 5 members of the board decide to have a special call meeting, and then they'll be given 2 minutes to the public to speak, and up to 15 public speakers are allowed in the public comment section. So not to go over that pursuant to the bylaws. The notice of the meetings shall be in accordance with the state's sunshine laws. So just the Open Meetings Act and the Open Records Act. And then for any procedure that's not listed in these bylaws, we'll follow the Roberts Rules of Procedures. And then moving on to the annual activities of the board shall adopt a fiscal budget. The board shall have an annual report of the activities of the prior year's fiscal report and present it to the city council so that they are on the same page, and provide the requisite public notice for the filing of such fiscal report. And then thirdly, they would have to have an independent auditor, an independent public audit to be performed in accordance with state law requirements, which may be in accordance with the city's annual audit. Now, the fiscal year of the authority corresponds with the city's fiscal year. So it begins on October 1st and ends on September 30th of each year. And lastly, the board will be permitted to establish its own seal. Moving forward to Article 4, we have officers. So at their first October meeting, every even year, the board will appoint a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary and a treasury. So the chairman is responsible for presiding over the meetings and executing all documents that come through the authority. All contracts need to be executed by the chairman. Now, in the absence of the chairman, or in case that the chairman is refusing to act or has a conflict of interest that doesn't permit him to act, there is a vice chairman that the authority or the majority members of the board may select, who will perform the same duties and will have the same responsibilities as the chairman. And moving forward, there's a secretary and a treasury who is responsible for making sure that all the funds of the authority, just supervising all of the funds, record keeping, and presenting this information, fiscal accounting information, to the city council. The authority may have their own legal counsel, advisors, and appoint employees. And in accordance with state law, the directors shall receive no compensation for their services, but they shall be reimbursed for their actual expenses that are incurred in the performance of their duties. And just Article 5, moving on, a waiver of notice. If a director does receive information stating that there's a particular meeting coming up, they thereby, if they sign it, they thereby waive that requirement of notice if they actually receive that information. And then moving forward to resolutions, this is just general information regarding the ordinance itself, which authorizes the ordinance and the members of the board to act accordingly. And then there's an adoption of conflict of interest and an ethics policy, which the board members must be aware of. If they have an interest in a particular development, then they may not get the authority to vote upon that particular development project. So just any conflict of interest regarding ethics, regarding loyalty, regarding duty to the government. That's the state law that discusses this. And as I amend the bylaws, I will actually list the OCGA 4510(1) requirements. There are about 8 requirements under state law. So I will list all of them so that the members of the board may review them. And then as far as governance changes is concerned, the board has the power and authority to make rules, regulations consistent regarding evidences of indebtedness. So a lot of the times development authorities, as we've discussed throughout the day today, have the authority to get into projects where there's a lot of financing that's required, rather it's revenue bonds, rather it's debt obligation bonds. So they have the authority to do that. That's just what the states. And then there's an amendment to bylaws provision, which requires an affirmative vote of the majority. So I will be circulating a copy of the amendment to the bylaws with just the amount of directors that we have now, and then also the conflict of laws provision in there. So anyone has any questions?
You have any, like, oh,
Just have one question. I think what you presented, it stated that the duties of the chairman, I believe it said may sign documents or something like that that were approved or authorized. Does that mean that the chairman can neglect to?
No.
So it should say he will. He or she will sign the document.
I'm happy to sort of reword the language, but it essentially just gives, yeah. Mhm. Yep. It says the chairperson shall be. Okay. Yeah, officers. So it says the chairperson shall be responsible for directing all board affairs and shall preside at all meetings of the board. He or she may sign any documents which have been authorized by the board or are required.
That's amazing. And I think that it's important too, because what if something contentious is up and I say, well,
That's the veto.
and we don't have to, and we're not set up for the chair to have that type of authority. So,
Could say shall sign any document.
No, we don't want to push it out. Let's keep it in May, because there is authority for the vice chair in that situation where the director, where the
Right.
chairman says, I'm not going to sign.
right, okay, so that's what it is. So it's not a veto. Okay, this is what it is. It's not an opportunity for that. If a chair neglects his or her duties, the vice chair in that case can.
So that's
So it
correct.
still should say will sign.
Well, no, here, listen, hear me out. So there is no authority for the chair to not execute your documentation. However, you cannot, for constitutional purposes, force someone to take an action.
So
So
in the
if he is
city,
repugnant to an action that you have
right,
taken.
you can't make me, I
and he said,
understand.
I'm not
but-
going to
but the
sign it,
reality-
I agree with this philosophically.
Right.
Then you have the authority, instead of trying to do a mandamus action to get a judge to sign, you can then cast the responsibility to your vice chair and he can sign.
Right.
And additionally to your concern, if you read the last line of it, it says, in general, he or she shall perform all duties incident to the office. And this is the primary duty incident to that office. So to address that concern, it's already in there that, this is a part of his duty to
So
execute.
it's a
the
difference, because in the city, if the mayor doesn't want to sign it after 9 days, it becomes law anyway, whether he signs it or not.
True, but how about this? I'll leave it to the lawyers, but it does say may sign. And y'all mince words, that's what lawyers do. It says may sign. The following sentence, if it's interpreted that it is within your duties to sign it, then severability is going to come into play and that clause is gone because it makes no freaking sense. It contradicts itself. So then the severability says, well, this one's gone, it doesn't exist anymore.
But the whole point is that the second half of that statement is all falls on the second part where you said, if the chairman either refusal to or inability to. So there's a provision that is a backup or a guardrail. Am I correct?
That's correct.
But within his duties is, but it doesn't say he will sign things approved by the board. It says
You
he
can't
may.
force someone to sign.
Yeah,
Exactly, but that's my point. You can't force him to sign something, so he goes, I'm not gonna sign this.
Guess what? Then you go to the second part, and it says inability or refusal to act as determined by the majority of the members.
Right,
It's right there.
the vice chair.
I'm out of question.
Yes.
Are you done?
No, I'm through.
Okay. So your, Madam Attorney, your email relative to the terms.
Yeah.
The second part spoke to is at the end of your term, there is no one appointed or how does that process work? Do we, because my term ends next month, do I just kind of sit around and wait for someone to be appointed? Do I leave? I don't have to leave, but how does that work in terms of, does the city council then have to say, okay, we're going to put more people up to be voted on? And once we vote on it, whether it be the day, I think I'm the 23rd, or more.
Yeah, I think there's four.
Four of the line, do we just wait for the city council? We just stay in first of the city council, then bring in four more?
That is correct. The city council will make appointments. They could reappoint you, they could bring someone else at their discretion. But they would do that. Before they do that, you would say, I'll
Still serving
still
yourself.
be in that.
And that's in section 1. Yeah. Article 3.
Wait a minute, do we have any questions, remote? I don't see anyone's hand raised, no. Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
And Director, well, we have you here today. I have a question if you could give me guidance or instruction on. So you have 2 meetings that are scheduled for this month. You have one meeting that is your regular meeting on March 22nd, which is Monday, 6 p.m., 6:30. And then you have your continuation of this retreat, which is to establish your vision and mission, where we have a facilitator coming in, and that is on Saturday, the 27th. Now you can combine the 2 and reschedule the 22nd regular meeting to immediately follow your gathering on the 27th, or you can keep it as is where they're on 2 separate dates. If there's any desire to have them on the same date to consolidate, then you have the opportunity today to make that motion. And if there's no desire, then this meeting would conclude and you can just adjourn and you would have the meetings on both dates as scheduled.
Okay, so, what is, I have a question to the board. What is the desire or appetite to continue, even with our coordinator, I don't know what her schedule is like, to do this again on this Saturday? Since we're not staying in this facility, I'm at a normal retreat.
I'm flexible, but to be honest with you, all of us work in an environment where we have the flexibility to adjust our schedule. So I would prefer it to be during the week. And like you said, if we have enough notice, then we can notify our respective or yours, whatever.
Can you restate that question?
You say he can't hear you.
Mark, the appetite of Vice Chair for meeting on Saturdays, like for this retreat, albeit we still can tune in remotely whenever we do it. There just may be a challenge, I know it's a challenge for me, on Saturdays, just for these 4 hours during the day. So I was asking or checking the temperature for the rest of the board on the possibilities of actually 2 things, because it's in conjunction with what council said. The meeting, are we going to keep the meeting, or can we consolidate our regular meeting with our vision opportunity, our vision retreat, or still have 2 separate meetings in 1 week? And also, what is the appetite for us possibly doing the retreat during the week, since half of us or more than half of us aren't physically present and we're not staying at this resort.
So to answer your first question, I would prefer to consolidate the meeting because that would be a lot simpler and a lot easier, at least in my mind. So that would be what I would suggest / recommend, and even bring to a motion if we need be. And then the second part of your question, I didn't quite get it, but if you were
The possibility of us not meeting on or rescheduling our retreat to not be on a Saturday.
Well, for me personally, I think the Saturday works just because I'm still in the workforce. So Saturday is going to be an ideal day for me because I still work. Now, once I retire, it wouldn't matter, but I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Is the idea to consolidate on the Monday and do it all on the Monday? Is that?
Well, no, we would have to then go back and find out what date would work as opposed to the 27th. Like, I'm just saying, I didn't know we were gonna have 2 back-to-back and then other meetings on Saturdays, of this month. Like, it's a bit robust with my schedule on weekends, it's normally different. I'm here, but I understand what Director Room said as well. But nonetheless, consolidation. Is there anybody else who wants to chime in?
This is Van Coleman. Just for me, I agree with Director Grooms. I've already planned on the Saturday, so I'd much rather consolidate and have both meetings on the Saturday than to have 2.
Okay.
So have our regular scheduled meeting on Saturday.
Piggybacking the train rep.
Okay, I see a Sullivan nod either from Director Miller. What we're gonna do is, if we could take, or make a formal motion of consolidating our regularly scheduled meeting to be held on the 27th, immediately following our vision retreat, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we consolidate meetings and that the meeting on Monday, the 22nd, be consolidated with the training meeting on the 27th to be on Saturday.
Second.
Been probably moved in second, any discussion?
Yes, I have a discussion. Shouldn't that be considered? Well, do we have any guests or participants in our formal meeting on that Monday that we may need to check with to see if they're available for Saturday? And they probably don't work on Saturdays. I don't know.
Well, they have the ability to join us remote like the majority of people that.
No, I said work. They may not work. Well, I guess.
I
Yeah, the guests. Do we have guests scheduled? For the
Yeah, that's the
22nd?
question.
So we do, and they are available both dates.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Clerk.
So to clarify, the training will begin at 10 a.m. and it will last 4 hours.
Yes,
So
and then the meeting would.
the meeting will begin at 2, because I had to notice the meeting at 2, I guess 2 p.m.
Yep.
So training at 10 a.m. and the meeting to begin at 2 p.m. Are you ready for the vote?
Question, another question, and I made the motion, but I've also got something clarified. Just as a formality though, if we finish the training early, must we wait until 2? That's something I don't know.
Yes,
So,
when we make the public notice, the meeting has to start.
understood.
Any further questions?
None.
Can we, well, no, we just answered that question.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you carry forward.
Roll call vote. Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jenkins,
Aye.
Director Coben,
Aye.
Director Ivy,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pearson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Aye.
Director Ross.
Aye.
That motion is approved unanimously.
I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn our training session.
Aye, second. Probably moved in second, any discussion? Hearing now, roll call vote.
Roll call vote to adjourn. Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jiggins. Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Ivy,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pearson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Aye.
Director Ross.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 2:16 p.m.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank everybody for coming out. We really appreciate you guys sharing this again with us and providing us with all of this good information so we can move forward. It'd be great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too,
Goodbye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm bringing my kids on the 27th.